our lives. We've seen some shocking things in our time, lurid misbehavior in government, entertainment, academia, and we've seen how the world has gotten more coarse. Some blame President Trump for the decline of civility. Others blame pop culture, video games, rap music, Kathy Griffin. But the real cause of decline could be something more sinister and perhaps more shocking, because it's right in front of your very eyes on this very show, hiding in plain sight. It happened yesterday right here, and it was shocking. If you have a pet or a small child, a goat, or even a poodle, I suggest you take them out of the room now.
Here he is chasing people around with a reptile, even going into the walk-in with it.
Now, Trump wasn't here when this happened, and I wasn't here, for which I apologize. Usually I sleep here in the men's room. Maybe I could have stopped this. And frankly, I'm ashamed of my colleagues for letting it pass, especially Juan. As a co-host of one of the top family-oriented programs, I'm appalled, and apparently I'm not the only one. The reaction in the media was swift.
Can we just go back to what happened there? Dana said what? Hopefully Dana will be okay.
Yeah.
When we get back.
Got our swear jar.
I don't want to sound like Dana Perino, but we're not going to talk about Dana in the next panel. What happened to Dana?
I don't know. No. Look, I think the whole segment should be about what happened to Dana. And fans of the show were equally as disturbed by Dana Perino. Now, finally, the public knows what we always knew. Dana Perino isn't so sweet and innocent after all. In fact, she calls herself a role model to what? Maybe a roll of toilet paper, the filthy person. She claims she's a mentor, tormentor, more like it. Because fact is, this wasn't the first time. Look at what we unearthed. Previous examples of similar outbursts toward the nicest of people. Listen to this.
This is 2-year-old Gracie distributing breakfast to firefighters coming off the night shift.
A homeless man begging for a job instead of food. An overwhelming response, and it's gone viral.
A father working 3 jobs surprises his daughter with the dress of her dreams for her 8th grade formal.
It's horrifying. So as you hope and pray this was just some aberration, the scary reality is this is who she is, Dana Perino, monster. So, Dana, I believe you finally have a catchphrase.
Monster?
Yeah, no. No, I think the catchphrase from now on, I think everybody should find a little video and just put over that phrase over every video. Every little nice thing that somebody spreads on Twitter, they should just put that over it, and you should start doing that now until the end of time.
I thought I had a good tagline with the waters. That's much better.
It is. Jesse, why didn't you do anything?
I was shocked. I'm not used to hearing that kind of language, Greg. So I immediately froze. And my children were watching that day randomly, and they were shocked and horrified by it. So if you'd like to apologize, now would be the time.
I'm sorry, girls.
I agree it's a coarsening of the culture.
Yes.
I blame the president. It's up there with Charlottesville. You know, I can't think of anything that would even come close to that. I wanted to actually give you something. Your mother wanted me to give you this. Here, some soap to wash your mouth out with, Dana.
Sorry, Mom.
All right.
I think my mom is watching.
She was watching probably last.
No, she wasn't. She was at a concert in Aspen, Colorado that was being led by student conductors.
How wholesome.
So wholesome. And I tagged her on a message saying, Mom, I'm so sorry. And she had no idea what had happened. But she said that truth was on my side, that the guy that did it was being one of those things. And I think, you know, when it happened, it just flew out of my mouth. I hate to be scared by things and by pranks or things like that. But that really wasn't even a prank. I thought Charlie was going to say that the alligator got into the convenience store just on its own, and it was like that. But instead, it was that guy. But I am so embarrassed, and I felt really bad.
You know, Juan, Dana's been a critic of President Trump.
Is that right?
Yes. That's his behavior.
Yeah.
And I mean,
especially the language.
The language.
You really have been a bit anything anymore.
You can't go after. She can't go after about language anymore.
Let me just tell you something. I've known Dana Perino for a little bit of a time, and one of her mentors is Dick Cheney. So Dick Cheney.
Tormentors.
No. Dick Cheney has a lot to say about this because he was the one who taught her that guy was a major league. You know what I'm saying?
No, you have that wrong. It was President Bush said that, and Dick Cheney said big time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There we go. But then also remember, Joe Biden is a guy who's very sensitive about this, right? Maybe running, right?
Yeah.
And so Joe Biden said this was a big blanket deal on the fine. You know what I mean? That's what
he
he
made a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
I usually
but I think
have more self-control.
What I learned about this is I thought back to literature and Mark Twain, who said that.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Okay. But Mark Twain said that kind of profanity, if you will, it gives a person a relief not even available to those of us who pray. That it is a good expression. That it's a way to let it out. And I think Dana, in her defense, Greg, acted impulsively. It's like if you were walking down the street. Not you walking down the street. I was going to say a pit bull. But in the gym, you've told me that when people get near you with their weights,
I get
can be pretty tough.
I get very, very angry, but I control my anger, Jedediah. Is that real? I mean, I'm sure that you look up to Dana at times.
I do.
Is this
Dana is my mentor, so, you know, my dog saw this Dana. She hasn't been the same since. But, you know, the thing about this that's so amusing to me is that Dana is the only person on earth that something like this could happen to, and you leave and you somehow like her more, and she's cuter in some way. She's gotten more adorable since. But one thing I love about it, honestly, is that sometimes people think that we sit here and everything we say is planned and staged. Right. And that was a real moment. That showed me you were actually watching that and reacting in the moment, what you felt, which is what you pretty much do all the time. What I love about you is that you always say what's on your mind. And that was just a real moment. I think people crave that stuff. And I think that's why when they see it, they're like, yeah, it's a bad word, but you know what? She's a real person. She had a human reaction. We'd like her more. So
yeah, but the thing about it is it's getting worse.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I don't know if you were here the other day. Greg said something to her, and her response was BS.
Yes, I saw that.
And then she said that was butter sticks, Jedediah.
Yes.
But I found out that in Nashville, apparently butter sticks has become a thing. It's really caught on, and people are using it. So I think I've actually done a service to the language.
Yeah, I believe butter sticks, if you look at Urban Dictionary, is something completely different. You know, a lot of people we have a lot of fans that were upset. They tweeted out, but we have a guest calling in who wanted to express, I guess, her opinion on this. Do we have the caller?
Yes, you do. Hello, Dana.
Hi, Mom.
I just wanted to tell you that you're not in trouble.
Okay. Because that is my biggest fear. My whole life is being in trouble. Like, my fear of being in trouble, that would be like the worst thing. I'm glad to know that you don't think I'm in trouble.
No, I think you called him exactly as he was.
Thank you very much.
So this is not frowned upon in the Perino household? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Oh. You can't go after her mother, Jeff.
It's Waters World. He does this all the time.
You know, Mom, I was telling Greg earlier that I had that as it flew out of my mouth, and I felt so embarrassed and so mortified, and I felt like I have ever since my junior year of high school when I got caught trying to skip school with Tracy Schilling, and I got detention, and you found out, and you want to tell America what you did to punish me?
Oh, I will. It was a great moment. I kept my mouth shut for about 7 months, and wrapped up in a very nice Christmas gift was the letter I received from the principal of the school saying my daughter had skipped school.
It ruined Christmas. I'm still upset about it.
That is one of the most insane. That's a long play to wait 7 months.
I know. I mean, I just got coal in my stocking.
That's pretty good.
honestly.
Wow. Did you give her another gift, though? Did you give her another gift?
I think I got a boombox.
Probably a gift of language.
A little bit older. Mom, do you want to say anything to Jesse about his mom text since we have you here?
I love your mother's text.
That makes one of us.
I think the best thing would be is if your mother and I teamed up, got together, we could make a new show.
That's a dangerous combination. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I would watch that show. Mom, I didn't get a chance to tell you this last night, but you're not the only mom who called. Last night, when obviously I was very embarrassed and I was really upset, one of our executives got a call from his mother making sure that I was not going to get in trouble. And Chris Starr called me the teacher's pet because of that. But the mother also said she was very upset that Greg was not here yesterday to witness the moment. And I said, well, don't worry, he'll be getting me back.
Yes, and from now on, this is gonna follow you everywhere.
America, I apologize. Mom, I apologize, but thanks for sticking up for me. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you for the apology. You're not in trouble. Just have a good show.
Okay, thanks, Mom.
Thank you.
She stuck up for the alligator. I mean, she's an animal rights activist.
You know what they say? The alligator always gets you last. What's the saying?
No,
it's something about the alligator.
It's fable. Like
you can be nice to the alligator, but it'll eat you last.
He was taped. His mouth was taped.
That's terrible.
Cruelty.
I am upset a little bit about the double standard that's going on here. Because if other people at the table, I don't know, you or Juan or anybody had said something like that, I'm sure it would have been a huge deal. When you say it, it's cute, and we're doing a segment on it.
I'm all about ratings. Just wait till one more thing, more ratings.
Oh, jeez. I wonder what that means. All right, another four-legged friend, perhaps?
Thank you. Yes, his mouth will not be taped shut.
All right. President Trump drops the hammer on Democrats' fiery midterm message in Tampa when we return.
Me and Susie had so much fun, holding hands and skimming stones.
Terms President Trump using his rally in Florida last night to go after Democrats. Is this a preview of what's to come in the fall?
Democrats want to raise your taxes. They want to destroy your jobs. They want to crush our industries with crippling regulations. And you know, the stock market is up almost 40% since that great November day. Worst of all, Democrats want to, you know that. They want to open our borders. They want to let crime, tremendous crime, into our country and can't do it. Republicans want strong borders and no crime. The Democrat Party, they want to abolish ICE. In other words, they want to let MS-13 rule our country. That's not going to happen.
All right, rallies are always fun to watch. Jesse, one of the best things that President Trump has going for him is that you can't beat someone with no one. And right now, the Democrats still haven't settled on anyone. And it could be a while, like maybe another year.
Right now, Maxine Waters is the face of the Democratic Party, and that's frightening. Also, Nancy Pelosi and Crying Chuck, very unpopular politicians. I love how the president's language is so stark and extreme. It's not just that, you know, they're soft on crime. It's they want MS-13 to run the country. I mean, it really puts a headline to these, you know, kind of haymakers that this guy is throwing out there. And it's very succinct, and it's very quick, and it fires up the crowd. It looks like he's running on two themes in the midterms. Law and order, when you talk about crime and MS-13 and the borders, and the economy. And on the economy, I mean, things are pumping. I mean, he's got nearly 3% GDP growth. Wages are up. Jobless claims way down. Stock market's way up. 401ks are bursting. So that's a great message. Some of the inflammatory rhetoric comes when he's talking about law and order and crime and the border. And that can end up firing up the Democrats when he does that, too. So it's a tough balance, but he's all in. I mean, this is a base election, and that's what he needs.
By the way, Jesse, I think there's a poll out that shows Biden beating him handily.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, but I think don't you think that has a lot to do with name ID right now, Juan?
No,
in fact, again, there's no other Democrat. The only other Democrat making headlines.
There was also a poll that said Hillary was going to beat Trump. And look what happened there.
Again, it's name ID.
You're right on that, but I'm just telling you that you say, oh, who do the Democrats have? We even haven't had the midterms yet.
Can I ask you, Juan, do you think that former Vice President Biden can win a primary in this current climate when the Democrats
in fact, it's not close among Democrats. I think, you know, Republicans love to focus on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They like to focus on, they say, oh, that's the far left. They're so wacky. But most of the Democrats, not only do they prefer Biden, I think almost 2-1 over anybody else, and the only anybody else is Hillary Clinton, who's not running. But when you ask them about who do you want for your candidate? It's Joe Biden. So this
remember
is
the
emerging.
Republican primary, you had, you know, Jeb Bush was ahead, Rubio was ahead. Yeah. And then when you get down to the debates and the caucuses, it's a whole nother ballgame.
We don't know. We're talking before the midterms was my point. But here's the thing about last night that drove me nuts. Everybody's saying, look at this rally. And when I look at the rally, what do I see? I see this QAnon people, big time there. And these are conspiracy theorists of the...
You saw one sign.
I see, no, that's not true. I saw people in shirts. I saw Seth Rich signs, Greg. I see lots of these conspirators.
But that's what you choose to see.
Oh, that's what I choose to see. I think
you can find the fringe. There's more fringe on the left than on the right. I don't like the fringe on either side.
Here's a question for you. Why are these people attracted to Trump?
I think that it's actually an interesting question, that if there is something that is extremely popular, it often includes all sorts of different people. So you get mainstream, normal, common sense people, but you get fringe people because that just you have a wide net. That happens everywhere.
Yeah, so you
want to smear an entire group of people with their. Hey, look, we do that to the left too.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
But I get it. Like you said that you were disturbed by it, but I wanted to ask you, Greg, about the Democrats making headlines this week are not ones that you are going to be the ones of the future. President Obama announcing today that he's going to endorse a whole bunch of candidates. And that's like waving a red flag in front of Republicans.
They are worried that they're worried that there's a huge hole. And the thing is, what Trump is doing, I guess, he's expressing the eternal tug of war that always seems to work. Republicans grow economy, Democrats grow government. Republicans want to get rich, the Democrats want to get the rich. These are like the two stark choices that always come up. Everything else, whether it's immigration regulations, taxes, that all kind of goes away. It's about expanding government versus expanding opportunity. And I think it's the way to go. The problem that the Republicans have is it's a three-way race. It's the Republicans versus Democrats and media. And those two participants agree beforehand to fix the outcome. So you know what success is? Success is losing less than expected. I think that's for 2018. It's losing because when you're in power, you're always going to lose a lot. You're always going to lose seats. Yeah.
In fact, that's an advantage for the Republicans this time is that they have lower expectations.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
but you just want a flesh wound.
You should always lower expectations.
Yeah. Right. You want a flesh wound, no major arteries.
But I would say this.
Can I get that at
Yeah, let me finish one point. Last night, what was this business about Christmas? I don't get it.
Where have you been the last 8 years?
You don't get Christmas, Juan? What kind of monster are you?
And the fact that there was political correctness for so long, and his base likes to hear that he's going to call it like he sees it, and he's going to. That's a line just so
didn't know you weren't allowed to say
Did you happen to notice the date? It's August 1st, and he is back to the war on Christmas. I mean, he'll do
anything. You start your shopping early. I wanted to mention one thing to you. President Obama, in his endorsements, it left out every woman veteran running for Congress.
Really?
Maybe he thinks he doesn't need to help them, but that's just a note that was pointed out to me.
That's a big mistake. I think your point, though, just to go back for 1 second about Joe Biden, I agree with you that Joe Biden could actually be an interesting choice. And, I interviewed Joe Biden, and one thing I will say is he has something similar to Trump. Trump appeals to people. He can talk to, blue-collar workers. He talks like the conversation we have around the dinner table. His strength is that he makes things feel tangible and real when he talks about the economy. Joe Biden can do that, too. Joe Biden's only problem, though, is that he's tied to President Obama. He's tied to the Obama administration's policies that people were running from when they embraced Trump, the same problem that Hillary Clinton had. So if he does run, he's going to have all of that baggage from the Obama
President Trump is going to Pennsylvania tomorrow. He's going to be campaigning for Barletta there and obviously trying to help other Republican candidates. But it's also where Biden still has a pretty strong hold on. And I remember that story just last week. President Trump, apparently the only state he's kind of really worried about is Pennsylvania. Yep. So you'll want to watch that rally tomorrow night, too.
There's another rally?
Yes, of course. And then another one on Saturday. It's a never
Yeah, but you know what, Greg? You need an ID to buy groceries in Pennsylvania.
Well, but Juan, you need an ID to buy certain groceries. I know that for a fact.
What are you talking about?
Like cigarettes,
beer,
alcohol.
If you want to buy any kind of Sudafed. No, do you know that they wouldn't sell? They would not sell me. There was like some kind of decongestant.
Sudafed type.
Yeah, and I was sick as a dog, but they wouldn't sell it to me.
Yeah,
because you look like an addict.
All right, we got to run. President Trump creating a frenzy in Washington for saying Attorney General Jeff Sessions should end the Russia probe. The latest reaction up next.
She's a diamond when the world sees dust. Finds a glitter in the gritty.
Come away with.
Yes, I want to just as easy as
I chose that game. President Trump's launching a new attack against the Russia investigation, saying recused Attorney General Jeff Sessions should shut down what he calls the rigged witch hunt. Predictably, Democrats are saying this is an attempt to obstruct justice. But the president's legal team and the White House are pushing back.
It's not an order, it's the president's opinion, and it's ridiculous that all of the corruption and dishonesty that's gone on with the launching of the witch hunt, the president has watched this process play out, but he also wants to see it come to an end, as he stated many times, and we look forward to that happening.
This all comes as sources are telling Fox News the special counsel has agreed to let President Trump give both written and verbal responses in any potential interview. Mueller also agreeing to reduce the total number of questions, but still wants to focus on collusion and obstruction of justice. So someone sent me something, Dana, on Twitter, and it showed a headline from the New York Times in the late 90s, and it said something like, Bill Clinton's attack on Ken Starr are working. And is this similar to what President Trump's doing? It's an attack. It's not an attempt to obstruct justice.
Well, I mean, if I were the White House, I would say that too, because it was just last week that we found out that the Mueller investigation is looking at President Trump's tweets and looking at that as possible obstruction. So today he sends this thing that looks like an order, right? If the president says that to you in a tweet, would you think, okay, is that an order? Wait, what is that? She says today it's an opinion, but that makes sense. Like, if you want to stay consistent, they should just say that it's an opinion. The thing is, then, does that mean that all presidential statements on Twitter are an opinion? Like, you have to guess, right? We're never going to really know what the case is. I do think that attacks on investigators, they work to some extent. I mean, the approval rating or the believability rating, the credibility rating of Mueller, the FBI, et cetera, they've all gone way down. But I think that there's a cost to that in the long run, because you don't know, the investigation is not going to end unless he decides to call an end to it. Like, he could do it. He doesn't have to, and actually asking Jeff Sessions doesn't make any sense because Jeff Sessions is recused. But if we bring that up, he's probably going to get more mad at Jeff Sessions again for recusing himself in the first place.
Poor Jeff Sessions.
This drives me crazy because I want him to stop tweeting about this. I don't know what to do to get him. If he thinks it's a witch hunt, fine. If he thinks it's a ton of bias, fine. A lot of people across the country, a lot of Americans happen to agree with President Trump on that. But you're giving ammunition to the other side to say that you are consumed with this, that you're worried about it, that you have something to hide if you keep tweeting about it. It's like, it reminds me of the girl who breaks up with the bad boyfriend. And you know that she's over him and that she's moved on to better things because she stops talking about him. So I want him to stop talking about this. You want to tweet? I understand we live in a social media age. Tweet about the economy. You're doing great things. Tweet about deregulation. Tweet about positive stuff, about campaigning around the country to get Republicans elected. But this stuff makes you look like you're consumed with it, and it gives ammunition to the other side. Please stop.
Well, he is consumed with it. That's clear, because he believes it's totally rigged. Juan, do you believe that the president sincerely is making an attempt to sit down with Robert Mueller, and that will happen? Or is he just playing footsie when in the back of the office, all of his legal team are saying, no way, Jose?
Well, we know that the legal team is saying, no way, Jose. But the question has been, why is President Trump continuing to say, oh, no, I'm willing to sit down with him? I think it does deliver a politically positive message that he feels he has nothing to hide, no collusion, nothing happened. But none of his lawyers, even his former lawyers, is of that opinion. And today, when he goes after Mueller with his tweets again, he seems to fire that up. He even went to the point of saying that the ongoing trial of Paul Manafort, he said, who's being treated worse, Al Capone, public enemy number one, or Paul Manafort? I don't get it. Now he's defending Paul Manafort when his name hasn't even come up in this trial. He's out there. I don't even know why he would want to hire Paul Manafort, but he did. And now he's defending Paul Manafort as Manafort's trial is going. Talk about suspicious behavior.
Well, that was probably the worst hire Trump has ever made with Paul Manafort. That's clear.
There's a few that compete for that one. I'll tell you what. For me, okay, the evidence is less about the Trump-Russian collusion than it is about media, Democrats, and the FBI collusion. They say that they didn't spy on the campaign. It was just an informant. Yes, I get it. And MS-13 are not animals, and terror is workplace violence. They spied on him. Okay. This is a personal thing for me because I've been through this stuff. I think it's funny that staff takes a meeting in their own building, and somehow that's worse than paying for Russian dirt through a British spy. Try to explain that to me. It's not going to work. Here's the deal. when you work, the media doesn't get this, and when you work for a living and you're in charge of something, you take meetings. Your staff takes meetings. I took meetings with people that turned out to be so skeevy you wouldn't believe
when you were
it.
An editor?
When I was an editor of magazines, I had dozens of meetings, and they turned out to be really, really shady dudes. There was a guy, and this is what I'm telling you, is that I don't think Trump, it's about these meetings. Trump would say, yeah, check it out. Look at it. It's in our bill. They're coming to us, see him for 20 minutes, no big deal, didn't think about it. There was a magazine for sale, and a very big one, and a very famous one, and they were down to the last meeting until they realized the guy that was buying the magazine was an imposter pretending to be his dad. Ooh. So this stuff happens all the time. And I think, if you're not working in business, you aren't aware how incidental a meeting is. Yeah. You have dozens of meetings.
You're making a great point, but you know that these people are Russians, and this was an American election.
I met with Canadians once.
Oh, no, I'm just saying. Well, you win. I give up America. Yeah. I can't do
a high-tech twist to the gun control debate. The outrage over downloadable 3D weapons.
The guy that was...
Hi, I'm Mike Ditka.
And I'm Johnny Bench. Temporarily blocks the release of blueprints used to make them. A Texas company was aiming to start offering downloads today, but several states pushed for a restraining order. The man at the center of this says he's championing the Second Amendment in the 21st century. But many critics worry the plastic weapons are untraceable and undetectable. President Trump weighing in, tweeting he's looking into the issue, and he has spoken with the National Rifle Association. But some Democrats putting the blame right on President Trump.
He complains about terrorists crossing the border, but he wants to let them have guns undetected? What kind of hypocrisy is this?
It's his doing, it's his responsibility, and the blood's going to be on his hands.
That's pretty strong language, Dana.
Yeah, I was saying that even though it skips over a lot of the points and a lot of the legal issues and a lot of all the things, like if you are just hearing that, oh my gosh, they're making 3D printable guns and then you're going to be able to have plastic guns and these things are going to happen. I mean, the Democrats, they're playing politics, but they're playing them very well. Those are good lines. And that the president recognizes it. His instinct was to say, whoa, I get it. I know you're concerned. I've read a lot today about how this is a First Amendment issue, this is a free speech issue, the legal issue, how the State Department decided to let this case go, not to keep fighting it in court as the Obama administration had filed the lawsuit in the first place. So it skips over a lot, but I can see why the public is concerned, and it takes a long time to dig into it and try to understand. But I'll say this, also, that 3D printers are coming, and a lot of this, there's a lot of technology that's going to be able to be made at home, and Washington and laws are not at all even close to keeping up with it.
Jedediah, so I'm really interested in the argument coming from this fellow Cody Wilson, who wanted to put out the blueprint for how to make the guns. He says he's a Second Amendment champion. He says this is good for America. He says it's fundamental to human dignity that everyone should have one of these. And apparently, if you got $5,000, you could get the type of printer that would produce an undetectable, untraceable gun. How does this strike you?
Well, they're not. I mean, when I first read the headlines, undetectable, untraceable, it is scary. But then you look into it, and they're not undetectable or untraceable. The guns have metal parts in them. So there's some plastic and there's some metal components. So that line just doesn't work. And I just find it really interesting. I mean, people have been making their own guns in this country since forever with different, technologies and whatnot. And I just find that the selective outrage all of a sudden now, and also you can find blueprints for guns and how to make guns all over the internet from other people. All of a sudden, the media cares about this issue very deeply. And I find it really interesting that now that Trump's in office, certain things are just important. This is like the childhood detention centers for the people that were coming over crossing the border illegally. And they were separated into these cage-like structures. That was in existence since 2014. We had pictures of all of it under the Obama years. All of a sudden, the media cares deeply about that. So that's my concern, is why, if you care about this and you're worried about the slippery slope of what happens if one day it is a fully plastic gun, how do we control this? What if it gets into the wrong hands? That's fine. If you're worried about, children in these detention centers and the temporary centers and the conditions, I get it. But why just now? Why is this all of a sudden? And it's because, as you can see with these Democratic politicians, they want to pin it on Trump, even though Trump is out there saying, hold on a second, I don't have all the details on this. I want to look into it, and I may want to do something about this. Why is this his fault?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to answer that one because I think that people want the president to take a strong stand, is my impression. But, Jesse, you've said that you really don't care about this issue, and I think you should tell America why.
Thanks for setting me up with that one, Juan. No, I don't understand the technology. It still baffles me that you can print a gun. I feel stupid just watching that. Who could it ever invent that? I mean, Americans are incredibly brilliant, and of all things to print, I would not have printed a gun, but that's fine. This reminds me of the school shooting in Florida. Where's Scott Israel? Does he still have a job? I mean, we're talking about 3D guns. There was just like a massacre in our school, less than a year ago, and the sheriff down there, Scott Israel, still has a job. And I'd like to know where that stands. Maybe we should talk about that instead of this kind of fantasy.
All right, Greg.
Yeah. You know where I build my guns? The
Equinox.
gym. Yes. Okay.
Impressive.
Here's a fact. 25 years of data from the Bureau of Justice shows that there's been a proliferation of gun possession accompanied by a dramatic decline in gun violence. It's absolutely dramatic, the decline. You're looking at 7.3 persons per 100,000, which is gun crime, down to 1 person. Yep. Gun homicides are cut in half while the proliferation of guns increases. So more guns does not lead to more crime. More guns leads to less crime. You can scream at the TV all you want. It's a scientific fact. Therefore, legal 3D guns will not lead to some kind of gun apocalypse. In fact, there will be fewer gun crime where people have the rights. Having said that, it is incredibly difficult to build a gun. It's easier to buy a gun. Right. So gangs aren't going to be interested in, they're not going to download they're not going to get their 3D printer and try to.
It's $5,000.
It's $5,000.
You can get a gun for $300.
So the whole thing is, and I don't believe the public's concerned about this whatsoever. I think that the only way you can get concerned by this is if people are chasing you with false fear. This is not a problem, and it's actually a positive thing. I think the 3D, and by the way, the technology is out there. It's going to happen. Right. It's the eternal debate of technology. Good versus bad uses. Yep. A box cutter opens boxes, but it turned a plane into a missile. Mm-hmm. So these things happen. Is this like building a bomb or building a go-kart? For most people, I don't know.
Let me just say, you and I have argued this forever and ever, amen. Yeah. But I mean, we do have a lot of mass murders.
Yes, that's true. Okay. But gun violence has declined.
Okay. But I will also say this: the TSA has said that they are finding more and more of these guns that they say are undetectable.
That it's more about finding ways to detect. That's a very different.
You have to make sure they're detectable.
Okay. If you're big into planning your social life, you might want to think twice about it. Apparently, the revealing reason we're going to tell you next, right here on the phone.
If your social calendar stresses you out and sucks the joy out of things that are supposed to be fun or relaxing, researchers have a solution. Stop planning so much. A new study says when leisure activities are planned in advance rather than being spontaneous, we enjoy them less. Dana, I know you're fired up about this. How do you feel about this?
No, I do. I am a planner. I plan everything. I could tell you my whole day starting at 5:30 a.m. and everything that happens along the way. But I have been craving my free time. Like mostly it's just on the weekends. But it does feel like it gets overwhelmingly planned. And then it just becomes a burden. And then I get mad if someone asks me to do something additional. And they're like, well, I can't do it this week. Okay, can you do it next week? Well, and it's too much. I think this is very good advice. A few years ago, I tried something in January. I called it No Plan Jan. So I tried not to have any plans for Peter and me.
Plans not to plan.
Right. Because I am a planner, so I planned not to plan. I said I'm not going to have any plans in January, which meant my husband and I were free to just do whatever. The problem is then usually by about 10 a.m. on a Saturday, I'm like, so what are we going to do today? I need to know so that I can plan ahead. So I am guilty of it as well.
I knew No Plan Jan. She was a barrel of laughs. She would come on over. What are you doing? No Plan Jan. We would just drink all day and throw up in the garbage can at midnight. That's all I got.
My mom's name is Jan.
Well, I was going to tell you.
Right. This is, I used to be the academic dean in a school, and one of the issues I dealt with all the time was kids. Kids used to come in and they used to be super, super stressed out because they were over scheduled all the time. Do you worry having kids? I imagine, they want to do all these activities. Are you worried that by scheduling their activities or putting too much on their plate, that what was once a fun thing to them now becomes, oh my gosh, I got to go to soccer practice, then I got to go to art class?
Yeah, my twins are way overscheduled. They have soccer, they have dance, they have swim team. Enough. When I was young, my mom used to just kick me out of the house and I'd play all day and use my imagination. And now look how I turned out. See? Yeah. Pretty good.
But with twins, it's like 2 for 1. You just, Yeah,
and they can play together, so it's an automatic play date. But I don't have a problem not planning. I can go with the flow. I don't do a lot. I mean, I go to the gym and then I go out to eat. There's not a lot there. I mean,
which I love.
When do you prepare for the show?
I'm not talking the weekends, Dana.
Okay.
And it's clear I prepare a lot. You ever listen to me talk to Juan?
It is impressive. It's impressive.
I am not a planner, Juan. In fact, I'm going on my honeymoon next week, a belated honeymoon to Italy, and we planned almost nothing. Are you a planner? I feel like the planning makes me crazy, and I like to just get out and see what happens.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I like that ethos, but I must say the other people in my life do not like it. So, in fact, things like tickets to a baseball game or I've already purchased tickets for the play helps to enforce the idea that my wife and I are going on a date, that we're going to have time together.
Yep.
Because if it's up to me, sad to say, I work a lot. And so I just keep working. I think, oh, I got to make that call. I got to write this. And then the time goes away.
Over planner or under planner, real quick?
I have a 3D planner. Planning creates anxiety. I dread vacations for that. It'd be much better. Just don't tell me when we're going to do something and just do it. Kidnap me.
All right.
Yeah, you want your wife to come and say, we have 2 tickets to Paris. Let's go.
Exactly. And who am I taking?
Joke.
Greg's on fire.
Collaborate and listen. I sit back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly. Flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo.
All right, I brought in new Max.
If your social calendar stresses you out and sucks the joy out of things that are supposed to be fun or relaxing, researchers have a solution. Stop planning so much. A new study says when leisure activities are planned in advance rather than being spontaneous, we enjoy them less. Dana, I know you're fired up about this. How do you feel about this?
No, I do. I am a planner. I plan everything. I could tell you my whole day starting at 5:30 a.m. and everything that happens along the way. But I have been craving my free time. Like mostly it's just on the weekends. But it does feel like it gets overwhelmingly planned. And then it just becomes a burden. And then I get mad if someone asks me to do something additional and they're like, well, I can't do it this week. Okay, can you do it next week? Well, and it's too much. I think this is very good advice. A few years ago, I tried something in January. I called it No Plan Jan. So I tried not to have any plans for Peter and me.
Plans not to plan.
Right. Because I am a planner, so I plan not to plan. I said I'm not going to have any plans in January, which meant my husband and I were free to just do whatever. The problem is then usually by about 10 a.m. on a Saturday, I'm like, so what are we going to do today? I need to know so that I can plan ahead. So I am guilty of it as well.
I knew No Plan Jan. She was a barrel of laughs. She would come on over. What are you doing? No Plan Jan. We would just drink all day and throw up in the garbage can at midnight. That's all I got.
My mom's name is Jan.
Well, I was going to tell you.
Right. This is, I used to be the academic dean in a school, and one of the issues I dealt with all the time was kids. Kids used to come in and they used to be super, super stressed out because they were over scheduled all the time. Do you worry having kids? I imagine, they want to do all these activities. Are you worried that by scheduling their activities or putting too much on their plate, that what was once a fun thing to them now becomes, oh my gosh, I got to go to soccer practice, then I got to go to art class?
Yeah, my twins are way overscheduled. They have soccer, they have dance, they have swim team. Enough. When I was young, my mom used to just kick me out of the house and I'd play all day and use my imagination. And now look how I turned out. See? Yeah. Pretty good.
But with twins, it's like 2 for 1. You just, and
they can play together, so it's an automatic play date. But I don't have a problem not planning. I can go with the flow. I don't do a lot. I mean, I go to the gym and then I go out to eat. There's not a lot there. I mean,
which I love.
When do you prepare for the show?
I'm not talking the weekends, Dana.
Okay.
And it's clear I prepare a lot. You ever listen to me talk to Juan?
It is impressive. It's impressive.
I am not a planner, Juan. In fact, I'm going on my honeymoon next week, a belated honeymoon to Italy, and we planned almost nothing. Are you a planner? I feel like the planning makes me crazy, and I like to just get out and see what happens.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I like that ethos, but I must say the other people in my life do not like it. So, in fact, things like tickets to a baseball game or I've already purchased tickets for the play helps to enforce the idea that my wife and I are going on a date, that we're going to have time together.
Yep.
Because if it's up to me, sad to say, I work a lot. And so I just keep working. I think, oh, I got to make that call. I got to write this. And then the time goes away.
Over planner or under planner, real quick?
I have a 3D planner. Planning creates anxiety. I dread vacations for that. It'd be much better. Just don't tell me when we're going to do something and just do it. Kidnap me.
All right.
Yeah, you want your wife to come and say, we have 2 tickets to Paris. Let's go.
Yes, exactly. And who am I taking?
Joke.
Greg's on fire.
Collaborate and listen. I sit back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly. Flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo.
All right, I brought in new Max